We have all heard about the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, which God wiped off the face of the earth because of the depraved behavior of its inhabitants. These were very rich and prosperous cities. The climate was warm and the land fertile. But the inhabitants of these cities did not appreciate these benefits. All the inhabitants of these cities, young and old, are mired in sins. The moral of these stories is that if the people or humanity goes against the laws of God or nature, then an imminent collapse and defeat awaits him. Let's see if this is true, if there is historical evidence, and if we repeat the mistakes of the inhabitants of Sodom and Gomorrah. I understand that there are believers and non-believers. Different people believe in different religions, but today I will speak from a conservative and religious point of view. The main reason for the death of these wealthy cities was the spread of debauchery and homosexuality. In all religions, such human behavior is considered unacceptable and sinful. There is such a pattern. The richer and more satisfying the people or the country, the more the population is addicted to debauchery. The birth rate is falling. People will inflate problems that never even occurred to them before. Thus, society loses its orientation, and the reverse process begins, the process of degradation. In 1972, an attempt was made to obtain experimental confirmation of this theory. In the United States, ethologist John Calhoun, together with the National Institute of Mental Health, conducted an experiment under the American-sounding name Universe 25 in order to study the causes and consequences of the current state of that part of humanity that we used to call modern society, while completely forgetting that in our time there are other parts of humanity living a completely different life. The essence of the experiment is briefly as follows. American scientists put mice in conditions that they called ideal, that is, in what they considered to be complete material security and the absence of any dangers. At first, the mice lived well and actively multiplied, but then they began to morally degrade. Without any need, and without any sense, they began to oppress each other, fight, kill, be lazy, engage in perversions, leave society, eventually refuse to reproduce and died out. They gave different names to the experiment. Paradise that became hell, deadly utopia for mice, hell's paradise, and so on and so forth. And then the conclusion was made. A peaceful and prosperous life is poison. A person, in order not to degrade, needs to live amid a shortage of something necessary, fight with someone for this necessary, live under pressure, tension, and stress. But unlike mice, humans have a rationality. Although, of course, humanity is part of the animal world and has animal instincts and can repeat the same mistakes as a society. After all, a person has moral norms that are rooted in religion. In the same Bible and in the Abrahamic religions, the Almighty warns man against debauchery. The Almighty shows the right way. He knows in advance what it will lead to. He, as a creator, tells his creation what is useful to him and what is not. Perhaps it is worth taking the word debauchery in a broad sense. When a society has been living well for a long time and no crisis moments occur, when generations grow up not knowing what war, hunger, poverty are, this society is easily tempted, and a new generation of spoiled children grow up who easily enter into sexual relations, does not know what responsibility is. Waste, heartlessness, ruthlessness spreads, morality is lost. There are no moral restrictions for them. Debauchery and homosexuality have always been present in human history. From the time of the prophet Abraham to this day, debauchery has been present in various nations and civilizations. But there is another pattern. The flourishing and support of debauchery always coincide with the moment when an empire or civilization is experiencing the last days of its former greatness. The ruling class, rich officials lose their shame. They become intoxicated with excess and wealth. As the experimental rats in the experiment Universe 25, they lose their humanity and give free rein to their animal instinct. In any civilization, the foundation of society is considered to be a family institution. Children are born in a marriage between a man and a woman, and when this most important institution fails, any empire, no matter how strong it is rotting from the inside. Many examples can be brought to this. For example, Greek civilization. In ancient Greece, same-sex relationships were widely believed to be the norm. Basically, it was a relationship between a man and a boy. According to some scientists, this belief is considered erroneous, and people with such relationships were not welcome. But one thing is clear, that during the golden age of Greece, cities got rich and debauchery spread, and eventually Greece was invaded by Rome. France in the 18th century, before the collapse of monarchies. In 1785, a French writer and a well-known libertine in high society, the Marquis de Sade, was convicted of sodomy and poisoning and imprisoned in the Bastille. In prison for 37 days, he wrote his main novel, 120 Days of Sodom. In it, he wrote that dukes, bishops, bankers, and judges arrange a mass orgy in the castle, during which girls, including their own daughters, and young men are raped, tortured, and killed in the most brutal ways. Later in 1789, the Bastille fortress fell and the First French Revolution won. In 1792, the King of France was removed from office. Injustice reigned in Native American society. The gap between the rich and the lower classes was colossal. Debauchery and human sacrifice were widespread. This is well shown in Mel Gibson's film Apocalypse. And this civilization, which has achieved a lot in astrology and mathematics, is experiencing a sunset. Just at this moment, the discovery of America by Europeans coincides, and the civilization of the Native Americans ceases to exist. Now let's talk about the fall of Rome. This is a very important topic because the Roman Empire, in its development and structure, is close to the current superpowers. The period of development and flourishing was permeated with heroic pathos. Legends glorified heroes. Roman generals inscribed gods or mythical heroes in their genealogy. The family sphere, family law, were characterized by the strictness of morals, the struggle with promiscuous relationships. Perversions were condemned and even punished. For example, one of the reasons for discontent with Julius Caesar among his entourage was a rumor that Caesar had entered into a relationship with the king of Thebes, Nicomedes, and in the role of a woman. It was considered a great shame, and even the rumor about this caused dissatisfaction with the ruler among his entourage. Rome's illness began in 37 AD, when Caligula became emperor. The fact that he was a libertine many have heard. It's not a secret. He cohabited with 3 of his own sisters, 2 of whom he gave for the comfort of his entourage. He took wives from rich Romans and forced married women to debauchery. And now let's see what accompanied the reign of the libertine. That's right, the appearance of pronounced matriarchal tendencies, which Caligula himself planted. The emperor declared one of his mistress's sisters not someone, but a goddess, and ordered the Romans to honor her as a deity. 20 priests and priestesses served her cult. Caligula's successor, Claudius, who was the first uncle, he was also a pronounced henpecked man and a lover of perversions. According to Suetonius, Claudius was so subordinate to his wives that he behaved not as a ruler, but as a servant. His wife Messalina gave herself to anyone for money and for free, involved other noble women in debauchery, and the emperor only indulged in this. It didn't end with Claudia. The empire went into a tailspin almost half a century long. Claudius's successor was Nero, who, apparently, decided to surpass both predecessors in depravity and matriarchality. Nero did not even try to behave like a man, neither in life nor in intimate terms. Judging by his antics, he associated himself with a woman, and with a depraved one. The virus of debauchery penetrated the Roman Empire. It was impossible to stop it. Continuity in the growth of the state, stable strengthening of its power was no longer observed. Constantine's attempt to move the capital, to cut off the country from the matriarchal and debauched Rome, bore fruit and prolonged the existence of part of the empire for another 1,000 years, but it was already called Byzantium. There are many examples about the role of debauchery and immorality in the fall of civilization. The modern Western community follows the path of the Roman Empire in many ways. No matter how rich and developed it is, if society goes against the law of nature or God, then nature always wins. We must not forget the sad examples of history, and we must learn from this and make the right decisions. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you liked it. push the like button and subscribe. See you soon in the next video.